Welcome to my weekly podcast, Later That Same Life. I'm Larry Fedoruk, week to week sharing thoughts, opinions, and stories from our lives.
Season 4, Chapter 10.
KFC.
I have an odd relationship with KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Not sure if it's unique or not. First of all, consuming KFC is a fond childhood memory. So, as an adult, it is not inconceivable that every once in a while I would crave some of the Colonel's bird, coated with that highly guarded confidential recipe containing 11 secret herbs and spices, and then boiled in lard for a precise amount of time. Let's treat myself to some KFC tonight. And I do. And it begins. Right out of the box, it never tastes as good as I remember it. But still, I forge on, telling myself that it does. I usually buy enough for 2 meals, one hot meal tonight and some yummy cold chicken tomorrow. But then I always eat it all in one sitting. And that's when it starts. The dizziness. A slight feeling of anxiety, mixed with paranoia. Gurgling and groaning sounds begin emanating from my body. They are loud. If I do manage to fall asleep, immediately I begin dreaming that I'm sitting on a giant daisy, and it's like a flying magic carpet, except that it's really a spaceship that I am driving through a rainbow. It starts out quite pleasant, until suddenly I'm being attacked by ginormous dinosaur chickens. And they all have white mustaches and little goatees. And walking sticks, which are actually lasers, trying to fry me up there in the sky. Sorry, I know, dreams, only interesting to the dreamer. Anyway, when I wake up in a cold sweat, completely frightened and traumatized, I begin the new day with constantly having to drink water. Typically about 8 pails per day. And still, I can't seem to quench my thirst. The smell of KFC is like a heavy fog all throughout the house. So I take the bones and scraps, and I wrap them in a big ball of tinfoil. And then I wrap the tinfoil in saran wrap. And then I put the whole bundle in some Tupperware, seal it tight. And it's not enough to just throw it in the trash and then take the trash to the curb. No, you have to drive the trash to another dumpster somewhere else. I recommend a minimum of 10 kilometers away. At the same time, checking the forecast for wind direction, GPS, a dumpster downwind. When you get back home and start on your 4th pail of water, you realize that though this helped, the smell is still there. The aroma has actually been absorbed into every fabric in your home. You have to shampoo rugs, sofas, chairs, and take the drapes to the dry cleaner. You have to wash all of your clothes. Well, not all of them, just the ones you're not going to burn. It's also permeated your skin on the fingertips and attached itself to the inner membranes of your nostrils. You soak your fingertips in bleach and shower several times while scrubbing your fingers with a wire brush. You rinse out your nostrils with the Navage nasal cleaning kit, which instead of water you fill with minty fresh Listerine mouthwash. By the 2nd day, the smell is almost gone, and you're down to drinking just 4 pails of water. The whole experience is almost like a common cold, 2 days coming, 2 days on, 2 days going. Yeah, it lasts about a week, and then you're kind of back to normal. Now that alone, as a KFC experience, would be weird enough. But you know what's even stranger? After going through all of that in anywhere from about 14 to 18 months, all of this nastiness is somehow magically erased from your brain. And I'll be sitting there saying to myself, boy, you haven't had KFC for a while. I should treat myself to KFC tonight. I do not know what weird brain experiments the Colonel concocted in his Kentucky kitchen, what special memory chemicals he adds to the recipe. But wow, this is CIA-level mind control. Yeah, I totally forget the experience. The only reason I'm able to recount this much now is because of barely legible notes I made one afternoon during a bad chicken flashback. Plus some eyewitness accounts from friends and relatives who witnessed some of this behavior and were willing to share this information under the condition of anonymity. Amazingly, sadly, I'll probably have KFC again in my lifetime. I think it's been about 14 months since the last time. I'm due. I don't know how they do it. Maybe it's like that old Sinatra movie, The Manchurian Candidate, where they take a bunch of shell-shocked Korean War veterans and brainwash them into being lethal assassins. And when they want them to assassinate some people, they just call them up on the telephone with a prearranged trigger phrase. Next thing you know, poor old brainwashed war vet is going out assassinating people all over the place. Maybe I'm getting some sort of trigger phrase call I don't remember.
Hello, is this Larry?
Yes.
Add gravy and coleslaw on special for 1 day only. Goodbye.
And I probably go into this trance. And I really don't wake up until some high school kid is handing me a bag out the drive-thru window. I mean, really, how else could they make me do it? No thinking, sane, unhypnotized person would just eat KFC.
KFC.
Well, anyway, that's one theory. Another theory, for me, is that KFC is ingrained in my psyche since childhood. I grew up a long time ago in a small town. We didn't have any fast food outlets. You want food fast? Here, eat an apple. Shut up, go away. So when we went to the city, the only fast food place they had back then, right there just off the highway, was Kentucky Fried Chicken. The Colonel was really the first one on the block with quick, easy takeout food. And we did call it Kentucky Fried Chicken. The term KFC didn't appear till decades later. It was when fried began to become a dirty word in the fast food industry. You know, McDonald's fried their burgers, still do. And that's when Burger King made a big deal out of saying, we don't fry our burgers, we grill them. Yes, so a healthy hamburger had to have grill marks. That was very successful for them. But what could Kentucky Fried Chicken do? Fried was in their name. What was the Colonel thinking? They went with initials, KFC, to try and take the constant fried reminder out of your mind. KFC. The C is for chicken. And it's not fried, it's effed. Okay, here's a top 10 fast food chronology. You can lay this on your friends and impress people at parties. The fast food industry as we know it technically began with A&W in 1919 in Lodi, California, followed by White Castle in 1921 out of Wichita. They were just local for a long time. Are you saying I could be stuck in Wichita? I'm saying you are stuck in Wichita. These two restaurants developed a method of clean, fast, cheap, delicious hamburgers, but they didn't really take off at the time. Soon there would be a depression and a war and a lot of other distractions. Post-World War II is when the fast food industry really took off. First of all, there were boom times, disposable income, and the birth of car culture, the drive-in. You didn't even have to get out of the car. First up after the war was In-N-Out Burger, 1948. First ever drive-up, drive-through. And no coincidence that In-N-Out, and in that same year, 1948, McDonald's happened, and both in the center of the car culture universe, California. 1948, McDonald's was just one tiny place in San Bernardino, run by two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, Dick and Mac. It's funny that McDonald's eventually offered up a Big Mac, but they never had a big, so Richard and Maurice, who didn't even exactly invent the clean, cheap, tasty, fast method, but they perfected it. McDonald's, more as we know it, didn't really happen until Ray Kroc bought it from the brothers in 1955. So White Castle, A&W, pre-war. In-N-Out Burger, 1948. Kentucky Fried Chicken, 1952. Burger King out of Miami, 1954. McDonald's, more like we know it now, 1955-56. Pizza Hut, also out of Wichita, in 1958. Subway sandwiches, not until 1965. In Canada, Mr. Submarine, 1968. Wendy's, 1969. There is your top 10 in chronological order. So if you look back at fast food chains as we know them, really, the Colonel was first up in 1952. You know, even before that, Colonel Harlan Sanders would be selling his famous chicken at gas stations in the 1930s. Seemed smart, you know, people were there getting gas, oil checked, windshield cleaned. It was like a captive audience for some delicious chicken lunch. Eat and get gas. A few years later, it was the Colonel that went into franchise mode. And that's about where I come in. Trips to the city, a day of shopping. Sometimes, if we didn't eat at the Kresge's or Woolworth's lunch counter, which was also fun, we'd stop and pick up some of the Colonel's good and good-for-you Kentucky Fried Chicken. Side of fries, some of that Colonel Sanders gravy, if Mom and Dad felt like splurging. And as I remember it, the Colonel also served up a mean root beer. Oh man, how great. And we could eat in the car on the way home. Without realizing it, these were my first adventures into multitasking. Think about it. I'm riding in a car, I'm getting closer to home. I'm reading a comic book, and I'm eating chicken. Look at all the things I am getting done. North American car culture grew. Fast food culture grew. By the 1970s, dozens and dozens of options. Harvey's, Hardee's, Arby's, Popeyes, Taco Bell, Domino's, Dairy Queen, Jack in the Box, Pizza, Little Caesars, Steak and Shake, Baskin-Robbins, Chick-fil-A, Quiznos, Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, Long John Silver's. Well, the list goes on. Almost every kind of food you can imagine. Cheap, tasty, fast. Brightly lit logoed signs became the landscape of every city. Mall food courts packed with an array of little booths offering something delicious made out of sugar or salt. So Kentucky Fried Chicken was among the first to tap into this, 1952. Before Burger King, before McDonald's.
Announcing the portable Sunday dinner by Colonel Sanders. He cooks up Kentucky Fried Chicken in his kitchen, then packs it up in his handy bucket. All you do is pick it up. Imagine, the best meal of the week travels everywhere, every day of the week.
These brands became part of our culture. Quick story, by high school we had moved to the city, and it was a big deal when the city got its first McDonald's restaurant. I remember it so well because 2 or 3 days a week, if Dad was working a split shift, he was in charge of lunch for Larry. Now, Dad was pretty good around the kitchen, but if he was busy, he could now just stop at this McDonald's, this cheap burger place, and that would be my lunch. When I ran home and got to the house for 12:05 to watch the Flintstones, the first thing I would look for is that little oven light. It was Pavlovian. I mean, if I'd see the warming light on for the oven, I would begin to drool, because I knew inside our little hot box was a McDonald's Big Mac. And this was funny, in the day McDonald's used styrofoam containers, and by the time I got home, that container had been warming in the oven for like 40 minutes. The heat always fused the containers shut tight. I used to have to get a steak knife or some serrated blade to saw through the styrofoam before I could experience the deliciousness. Years later, I would share this story with my younger brother. We're like a decade apart. And he had the same experience with Dad and the Big Macs. It just goes to show you that the exceptional practices of superior parenting can in fact be passed down through the ages. These days, I have a similar experience with McDonald's as I do with KFC. Well, the dreams aren't quite as vivid, but, similar. The food is never as good as you remember it when you were a kid, and it's smaller. 2 reasons. 1, you're bigger, and 2, it is smaller. You get less than you used to. And in my opinion, the Big Mac is no longer a hamburger. I don't know what's changed, but by the time you get that thing home and out of the box, it's more like a Big Mac salad. It's all over the place. Hey, McDonald's, get it together. When the big guns of fast food saturated the North American market, they made the move to take over the world. They had to. I mean, look, it doesn't seem fair that a North American who, let's say, traveled to Paris, France, should have to endure the local cuisine when they could just as easily have a Whopper. Fast food takes over the world. Again, among the first to do this, Kentucky Fried Chicken. This is wild. Since the mid-70s, the Colonel and KFC not only invaded Japan, but have taken over Christmas in that country. Have you heard about this? The now traditional Christmas meal in Japan is a special holiday bucket. There are statues of the Colonel dressed up as Santa Claus erected everywhere during the season. It's incredible. Well, in this part of the world, at Christmas, we can buy the KFC fireplace log. True thing. The long-burning fake fireplace log that fills your home with the aroma of the 11 herbs and spices. I wonder if the log tastes the same as the chicken. P.S. Don't eat the log. Really, don't eat the log. Not even with gravy.
This is Colonel Sanders, and I'm happy to say it's time for another 2-for-1 sale. In all of my Kentucky Fried Chicken stores across Canada, when you buy 1 snack pack at the regular price, you get another one free. That's my cross-Canada 2-for-1 sale, Thursday, April the 26th only.
Taking over the world, famously McDonald's was the first to move into Russia, early 90s, just after the fall of the Soviet Empire. Now, with over 800 locations, McDonald's in Russia is ubiquitous. And despite Western food companies saying they will stop doing business in Russia because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine, business is booming. McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, still operating. The head offices say, well, it's because these stores are independently owned by franchisees of whom we have very little control over. That seems difficult to believe, but okay. Also, what McDonald's did when they moved over to Lenin Land was work with local farmers. They also set up their own factories and processing plants to ensure the highest of McDonald's quality. Because here's the biggest draw of all fast food restaurants across the board, regardless of your offering. It's consistency. Consistency is a fast food credo. People like to know what they're getting when they go to a place like, say, McDonald's. It's important to McDonald's, and very much so to the clientele, that a chicken McNugget tastes exactly the same whether you get it in Vancouver, Miami Beach, or Omsk. McDonald's, billions and billions served. They are their own world power. They are their own media. They are their own industry. Top of the category. Yeah, they provide a lot of jobs. A chance for many a high school kid to earn their own dope money and begin a resume. But then again, massive food production has become a global environmental issue. Dick and Mac, back in the day, at that little drive-in in San Bernardino, could have hardly imagined. The Golden Arches are the biggest. Places like White Castle, In-N-Out, and A&W were technically around earlier. But to me, Kentucky Fried Chicken was the pioneer. Really the first in a lot of ways. The first to say, why bother cooking at home? This delicious meal is right here, easily accessible by car.
All you do is pick it up. The best meal of the week travels everywhere, every day of the week.
The original Colonel Sanders, a real person, passed in 1980, but his face still adorns the packaging. Over the last number of years, KFC marketing brought the character back to life with a series of tongue-in-cheek ads. The Colonel being portrayed by everyone from Daryl Hammond to Reba McEntire to Norm Macdonald. Ironically, my favorite KFC ad was McDonald's.
It's come to my attention that there's an imposter colonel out there. He's trying to be me. That's crazy. They can't just grab some super funny Hollywood actor, throw a white suit on him, and try to pass them off as the real Colonel Sanders. And I should know because I am Colonel Sanders. And this is my incredibly delicious $5 fill-up meal. I'm Colonel Sanders. I know that. It's finger-licking good.
Today, many KFC standalone restaurants are paired with Taco Bell. Every time I go by one of those and I see the cars lined up at the drive-thru, I wonder which one are they getting, KFC or Taco Bell? Then I think, maybe both. Wow, what a meal deal. What are you having tonight? Taco Bell and KFC. There's a nightmare.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.